mean, even if you don't feel like your voice is being heard, you're setting an example for your children. Going to the Capitol, we've gone to the Capitol on two different topics now, and showing up and letting them hold signs and understand like this is our country, this is our state. They work for you. They don't get to dictate everything in your life, and you need to stand up for yourselves. Like, this is how this is done, and I was proud to bring my girls down there.
Welcome to the Paintbrush Prairie podcast. I'm Kinsey Ashcraft, a boutique owner, firefighter wife, and mama of two cowgirls, homesteading on a cattle ranch in Oklahoma.
And I'm Talia Watcott, a Western artist and illustrator, mama of two, and wife of a mountain man, raising babies in the mountains of Utah.
Together, we share a passion for the Western lifestyle, homemaking, and Indian paintbrush flowers.
We're here to inspire and encourage you as we each create a simple but beautiful life on the prairie.
Welcome to episode 2 of Tell Your Story of season 4 of the Paintbrush Prairie podcast. Today we have a very special guest on, and we have Candace from In the Wild and Wonder. Candace is a Colorado-born and raised cowgirl, wife, and mom. She developed a love for showcasing their Western lifestyle through photography and videography when her two daughters were babies. Since, it has turned into a career where she focuses on capturing the love between the horse and his girl, as well as families, seniors, weddings, and ag-related businesses. Along with that, Candace also homeschools her daughters and travels all over to junior rodeos where they compete. Candace, welcome to our show, and thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Thank you for having me. This is an honor.
So we're going to jump right into the interview. Our series is all about telling your story, and we just want to get to know you and who you are as a wife and a mom, as a Christian and a business owner, and all of the things. So we'll jump right into it. Tell us your story and give us your background. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in an agriculture, Western lifestyle, or is that something that came later in life?
Yeah. So I grew up about an hour south of where we live now, down in Brighton, Colorado. It's actually on land that my family has owned for over 8 generations.
Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty special, especially where it's at in Colorado is very, very developed. But there's like this one little spot that my brother actually lives in the house that I grew up in now with him and his wife and his little boy. It's right next to a state park, so we grew up going through a back gate and getting to ride around in a state park. And I always laugh because I took my girls to that same state park a few years ago, and I was like, "I've never actually been in the front gate and paid admission into the state park. Never, ever." So we had an amazing childhood growing up, just being outside on horseback all day long. My my dad was a rodeo cowboy. He competed in pretty much every event. And then my mom grew up on a dairy farm. And so just ag related, rodeo related my whole life. My brother was roped when he was younger and then started riding bulls and bareback horses and, went through the whole gamut all the way, made the NFR multiple times. And I followed right along and tried to start showing horses, but then I realized I just love to go fast. So went right into all the rodeo events and went to college for that. And I met my husband when we were little kids, so probably close to my youngest age now when we were 10. And then we didn't start dating until we were like 16. And we got married when we were 20, still babies. And I was halfway through college and settled down in just north of Greeley. And that's where we started our life. We were able to buy our ranch about 11 years ago, and we're raising bucking bulls, and we've been doing that since we got married almost 18 years ago. And then we have mountain lion hunting hounds, and yeah, we just every day is an adventure. It never ever looks the same, especially right now we're in the middle of calving season, so dealing with rodeo cattle is like an extreme sport, is what explain. They're not the ones that'll back off and let you tag their calf. They will take you. So they're
Yeah.
Wow.
not
Yes.
bluffing. They're not bluffing.
That's
Yes, but it is a
awesome.
good time. We're having fun.
I love that you have been influenced on both the spectrums, rodeo life, but also agriculture. So that's really, really neat.
Yes, yeah. It keeps things interesting.
Yeah.
I have loved following you and just over the years, like seeing your girls kind of grow and just all the things that your family does. I think it is really fun. Like
Oh, thank you,
I just
Talia.
admire your lifestyle. I'm like, one day.
Oh, it's fun, but interesting and all the things. So,
So, when you were growing up, obviously you had kind of a lot of different agricultural influences, but um what were some things that you were exposed to as a child that have influenced the woman that you are today?
um, I believe a lot of it has to do with my grandparents, and we grew up, lived about 15 minutes away from my grandparents' dairy farm, and I had lots of cousins, and we would go there probably every weekend. I feel like we spent every weekend at my grandparents' house growing up before we started rodeoing. And it was jumping hay bales and helping my grandfather irrigate, or just riding in the back of his old orange irrigation truck, and getting to move. We didn't do a whole lot of like cattle moving, but on a dairy, but I mean, just being around them and getting to experience that. And then growing up where we did, I mean, every summer my mom had a daycare that she ran out of her house. So for a long time there was always at least 8 to 10 kids that were at our house, and we'd go out and we'd feed animals together. And like back then, before, I don't think you could do it today, but an in-home daycare where the kids are riding horses every day, unsupervised, bareback, probably 4 to 5 kids on a horse and running around, on 100 acres, and there's water everywhere and all kinds of fun stuff going on. We literally just lived outside all day long, and that's something that, here in 2024, it's so easy for kids to get distracted with screens or want to just sit inside and um, just lay around and play on an iPad or whatever. And I'm not saying that my girls definitely don't have those tendencies because they are living in this day and age, but many, many times I'm like, go outside. It is beautiful. We are not
Yeah.
staying in here. Even when we're homeschooling, I'm like, we will homeschool when the weather is bad. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
beautiful. Let's get outside. Let's go play. Let's go ride horses. Let's go do something. So that's probably a big part of how that shaped me, is that we were just always outside and using our imaginations and just enjoying. Even if it wasn't, we didn't have anything to do, we just go walk out in the fields and see what we could find. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that has such a huge impact. And, when you're in it, like when you're growing up that way, you might not, it's just like normal to you. But um, when you get to be an adult, you realize that not everyone grows up that way. And so it's kind of, when you look back, it's like such a blessing that you were able to grow up in that environment. And then you have that experience and you can help your girls kind of like live that same way and
yes.
provide the same types of experiences for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lost way of life for sure. And it's something that we have to kind of cultivate now. Like, I think when I was a kid, there wasn't any other options besides,
Right.
maybe watching TV, but now it's sitting around and playing a game or watching YouTube or something like that. And so it's a little more of like, hey, let's turn off the screens and let's go outside or let's go do something else. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yes.
I think too, when we were growing up and as kids, like TV was a treat
Yeah.
and it wasn't something that was on all the time, at least not in my household.
Hmm.
Um, like we were out, if it was daylight, we were outside. So
Yeah.
I think too, there's lots of there's more opportunities to be, screens are so prevalent, whether that's an iPad or a phone or a computer, TV, their screens are everywhere. And so it's more of a challenge to get away from those things, whether that, like you said, that wasn't an option for us. Um, so to kind of segue into more about you guys, I have followed you for years and have developed a friendship with you over Instagram, which I love. And you just inspire me with how you raise your two girls and your marriage and just the things that you stand for too, from like a moral perspective. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your little family and your life in Colorado, kind of like your day in and day out, maybe a little bit more about you and Cody and your daughters.
Yeah, sure. Well, something that I think set the precedent for us since we were first married is that we were both like born again believers following after God and chasing after God. And it was like, okay, if we are going to like devote our lives to Him, we're going to be set apart no matter what. I think that
Mhm.
in the world that we live in, if it doesn't, if you're following after Jesus, like there's going to be evidence that you're going to be kind of different. And so for me and Cody, that was a lot of times that um we didn't go to certain uh, occasions that required, like we were showing up to bars and getting drunk or drinking like that. So a lot of times we stayed away from those kind of things just because that was something that was like temptation, but also like is that honoring God? So a lot of times right from the beginning, we were both in college. So like we were babies
Yeah.
married in college. So a lot of times that looked like we were the old married couple that would go out to dinner and hang out for the night instead of going out with our friends like everybody was going out. We were young. And so that was something that we had to be intentional about. And he was on a professional bull rider. So he was traveling all over the country every single weekend. And for us in our marriage to work, so many times people were like, "Oh, you don't go with him every bull riding?" And I'm like, "I am in college, I am working a job, and I'm rodeoing myself. If I have to worry about him going to every single bull riding, like this marriage isn't going to work." So there was many, many times that people were like, "Oh, you don't go with him to every single bull riding?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to." Like, I got stuff that we're doing and that I'm devoted to and stuff, and this was long before we even had children. So, um, a lot of times it was he was doing his thing and I was doing my thing, and we had cattle at home, so I was taking care of that, and, we just had a very trustworthy marriage and relationship, so that helped with all of that, and then when the girls came along, he actually suffered a pretty big injury, like in his more of his head space and everything like that, to where not head space, but like he had a head injury to where he had to back off of riding bulls and going down the road and everything. And so the girls were little, and we things kind of just changed in that sense, and it became more about getting to stay home and be with them, and he worked a job around here, and then eventually uh, the PBR came out with a team series, and so now he's coaching that, and so our life kind of still is the same. Like he's traveling a lot and I'm staying home, or we're going to the rodeos, and thank God we have family that lives close by and they help with the cattle and everything like that. But pretty much it's just from sun up till sundown, we are doing things around the ranch, and we're homeschooling, or I'm running the girls somewhere. We don't have a whole complete setup here at the house to practice all the rodeo events. So we live about 10 minutes away from an indoor arena, and we go over there and um, ride and rope. And then we've got an amazing ministry just down the road from us that it's a outreach ministry, but it's more of a rodeo based ministry, to where we help with a rodeo practice every Wednesday night. We have devotional and prayer, and then we rope and tie goats and team rope and run barrels and poles. So that's a like a weekly thing, and we do a lot with the youth around here just regarding that. So my girls are super involved with playing guitar and leading worship because I don't play the guitar, so I need somebody to at least play the guitar. So Sheridan's doing that, and Odessa plays like a cajon drum, and we've just got our own little like worship team now that
That's
So
awesome.
we can do a
fun.
lot of that stuff. So yes, it's been so fun with them.
I love that.
That's
Sorry, I don't know if
awesome.
that actually answered your question, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah, we
where
just
life goes.
yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned that you have hound dogs and you do like
Mhm.
the cougar hunts. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, yeah. So my husband actually he won a mountain lion hunt, I don't know how many years ago, probably 15 years ago, and it was in Colorado, and he went on that and absolutely fell in love with it. And he'd always his dad had bird dogs that they raised growing up and everything like that, but he had never hunted with hounds, and he just absolutely fell in love with it. So when he retired from bull riding, he went and bought 4 dogs from a guy that hunted South Texas for bobcats and stuff. And so he started doing that, and the girls and I, we the the mountains that he hunts in Colorado are some of the, I don't know, craziest, like most rugged mountains out there. And so the girls and I go when we think that it's gonna be a little less rugged and crazy, but there's never any guarantee. We've literally have gone with him before and, drove the, side by side up to the tree and the lions in the tree, and we just get to go walk up there and take pictures with it and everything. Or we have literally gone with him and hiked over I don't know how many miles over mountains and down mountains, and then had to, like, hand our kids down the side of a mountain over boulders, so it can be stressful with kids, and sometimes bringing me too, I'm like, "I work out, but, like, this is legit
Oh yeah.
totally a total different thing when you're at altitude," and I swear Cody has, like, part mountain goat in him because he's
Mhm.
so fast. He's so fast, and he just moves so quickly through all of that, so it's so fun. We've raised, 1 litter of hounds, and, Cody is now he basically this last year became part politician as well because in Colorado the animal rights extremists are working on trying to outlaw mountain lion hunting, bobcat hunting, and lynx hunting, which lynx are already federally protected. So there's no hunting lynx in the lower 48. Well, actually in the United States at all.
Mhm.
Um, so he has had to step out of just being a hunter and into a spokesman. And he's been at the Capitol probably at least once a month, every every week, or every month since I think like November of last year. And we're working on really hard to fight that because it would be such a detriment to our state and the wildlife
Mhm.
um, because they released wolves just last
Mhm.
December, and now they're trying to protect, or the mountain lions are already protected very, very well in our state, and but by not allowing any kind of hunting on them, we will be overrun with
Yeah.
apex predators.
Yeah.
So really, really trying hard to educate people on that because the conservation model that we have here in Colorado has allowed the lions and bobcats for their populations to grow and to expand their territory. So, hunting is the best way to help those animals and to allow elk and deer and moose to continue to thrive in our state. So,
Yeah.
it's been fun with that.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up. I was actually going to try and ask you about that because I know that that has been a big deal. And then especially the wolves. I mean,
Mhm.
we watched from afar and we're like, what are they
Yeah.
doing?
Yes, exactly. And, like, the biggest part, I'll start with the wolves. They were already in our state. We already had established packs throughout the northwest of Colorado. They had come down from Yellowstone whenever they released them, 20, 30 years ago. So they were already here. It was more of a publicity stunt by our
Hmm.
governor and his husband. So that happened. Yeah, that happened. And then the it's I mean, they're animal rights extremists. They don't
Yeah.
care. about the animals. What they want to do is they want to rewild Colorado. They want to outlaw all hunting across the entire state. And the next step from there is if we don't need hunting, so who needs guns, right? Because
Exactly.
that's one of the reasons that we say that we want our 2As to be able to hunt too. So
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just another step, and it's if it happens in Colorado, it's gonna happen in Kansas, it's gonna happen in
Yeah.
Wyoming, it's gonna happen in Oklahoma, so it's we're like the keystone state right now that if we don't fight this, it's going to be a trickle effect and it's going to take over everything. So
Yeah.
I think I think we've got quite the force going that didn't happen with the wolves. The hunters and the trappers and all of the outdoorsmen slept on the wolves. They didn't think it
Yeah.
was going to happen and they didn't move fast enough and do anything. And so there's quite a big movement for the cat hunting to continue in Colorado. And what was I going to say with that? I think the biggest thing is just that those outdoorsmen have to show up and they have to use their voice and stop sitting back. And they need to register to vote and they need to make a move because they're coming for us and they're not
Yeah.
going to stop either. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then that's one thing I have admired about you and your family is you guys clearly have not been scared to stand up for your beliefs, and um you will take it to the Capitol and let
yeah,
people hear your voice, because
yeah,
I know that you've done that in the past with other
hmm
issues, and it's so important. And I think a lot of people are like, well, what can I do about it? Like, I'm
hmm
just a little person, like they're not going to listen to me. But if every single person that feels strongly about something gets out there and lets their
yeah.
voices be heard, then it makes a really
hmm
big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, even if you don't feel like your voice is being heard, you're setting an example for your children
Mhm.
because going to the Capitol, we've gone to the Capitol on two different topics now, and showing up and letting them hold signs and understand like this is our country, this is our
Mhm.
state. So they work for you. They don't get to dictate, everything in your life, and you need to stand up for yourselves. Like this is how this is done, and um, I was proud to bring my girls down there. Even we went during the crazy George Floyd riots, and we had them in big time in Denver. And our state Capitol building had plywood over all the windows because they'd all been shattered. There was graffiti everywhere. It was absolutely trashed. And I was so sad to bring my girls down there because it's this beautiful historic building in Denver and it looked the way it did. But it's
Yeah.
also like, this is what happens when people just don't understand things and just go crazy too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, and it's so important, like you said, for our next generation to see what it looks like to stand up for something in a good way,
yeah.
not not
Mhm.
just throwing a tantrum to get your voice
Uh-huh.
heard, but standing up for what you believe in and
Yeah.
showing them that you can do it and you can make change.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
so speaking of your daughters, we're going to kind of shift gears here. So, they're obviously involved really heavily in horses and rodeo, which I absolutely love. And how have you helped nourish their passions for horses and agriculture? Is it something that they were just naturally inclined to want to do, or did you kind of introduce it to them and they caught on, or how has that happened for them?
Yeah. Well, we've always had horses at the house no matter what. So whether it
Yeah.
was when they were little, they'd come out and feed with me. My oldest Sheridan, she's been obsessed with them since, she was
Yeah.
old enough to sit on top
Yeah.
of them. And so it's never been a like, I had to work very hard for her to want to do anything part of it. She started with a pony that she jumped and did all the pony club stuff from my mother-in-law was a lot into the jumping part. So that was fun for them to go do that and get to experience all of that together. And then, then she started riding my old retired barrel horse. And then it just went from that to
Yeah.
where we're at now. And then my youngest Odessa, she is my creative free spirit that, she would want to go ride with us for about 10 minutes. and then she'd want to get off and go play in the dirt. Like, I just want to go play in the dirt, mom. I remember her telling me that multiple times. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think it takes me longer to saddle your horse than you actually ride the horse. But
Yeah.
she's, she comes on her own terms. That kid's been like that since she was a baby. You just don't make her do anything she doesn't want to do. So she just goes with it when she wants to. And but they both love going to the rodeos. They love the lifestyle of getting to see their friends every weekend and play and just compete and all of that. Sheridan, she's does every event besides she really wants to team rope, but we don't have a head horse for her. We have a heel horse, but she really likes to be a header right now. So we don't have that quite, but she does everything else. And is competing. She's a sixth grader, so she competed in junior high rodeos for the first time this year.
Awesome.
Yes, and then Odessa has a little black and white pony that we found, and he's just the absolute best pony ever. I
Love
love
him.
him. I
So
know, I
cute.
love him too. Yeah, he's the most amazing little pony, and, I like, at one point, we're like, "We need to find her the next step horse, the next step up."
Mhm.
Um, just talking about that to her, and she would just get tears in her eyes and
Yep.
just, I don't want to, and I love Oreo, and I don't wanna I her thinking is usually, we have to sell that horse to get a new horse, and
Yeah.
me and my mother-in-law both are like, we can't sell him. We love him.
No.
We all love him. And so Cody is like, you girls, like, and you're collecting horses. I'm like, I know, but he's a pony, and he's like in his 20s too, but he has so much spice. Sorry to shook that spice to him that of course we show up to any rodeo or barrel race and I have people trying to buy him off of us every single
Yep.
time for their little kids. But I'm like, he's not a little kid pony. Like he is
Yeah.
a kid pony because he is so fast and he rears up going into the arena. So, I mean, there's pictures of him rearing up over my head. I'm leading him in. Like, he has super bad pony habits in that sense. Like, but we're not going to change him now. He's not changing. So I just like let people know I'm like, no, he's going to be sticking around here. So she's still going to compete on him this year, even though she's going to be in a different age group that she might not be quite as competitive on him, but I don't know. She's pretty confident and she tells her sister that she's coming for her.
Well, ponies kind of have a mind of their own. We have one of those where, which our girls are the same ages,
Yes,
and
that's right.
Scout is like, it's time for a little bit bigger of a horse, and she's like, well, we're not selling. We have a Tonto. She's
Oh
like, we're
yeah.
not selling Tonto, and I'm like, I know he'll just be a pasture ornament, I guess.
Yes.
But one thing I do enjoy about watching your girls and the horses, because like I grew up with rodeoing and stuff, and more of that rodeo background, but I always wanted to like do the saddle club, pony jumping. I always just like enjoyed that. It was so much fun. And I like that you do both for the girls so they have both of those experiences.
Hmm.
And it's just fun to watch them, like when you post videos of them jumping and doing the English and stuff. It's really cool.
Yes, yeah, they love it. It's like they're lucky they've got family members. Like my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law. So my brother married an English writer. And so she we can go down there and they can jump with her and then they can go to my mother-in-law's too. So because I'm like, I don't know anything about that world. Like I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah,
Besides
that's not
just
very
yeah.
it's not very popular here.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, they love that too. And I told Odessa, I was like, that would be something that Oreo would be good at, and you could do that. His career would be longer with jumping because there's all the pony shows here in Colorado that they could go to. So I was like, if
Yeah.
you like that, like we'll take you to those too, because the rodeos he it's just so competitive once they get into that junior senior division that
Yeah.
ponies aren't quite in there quite as much, or at least he isn't, but they're so
Not built for
fun.
speed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's something though, but he's pretty special to us. If you guys know Ashley Elderson from the Boutique Hub,
Uh-huh.
that's actually where we got him from. So
Oh, that's
Oh,
he
cool.
was
yeah.
their pony, and he's some kind of gated, like he's gated, and but I don't know what he is. We some kind of mutt pony.
Those are usually the best kind.
Yes. Yep.
That is so fun. We're like trying to get our land so I can like buy all the horses for my daughter because
Yes.
we
Oh,
have one and he's like my pasture ornament right now, but he's like my first horse and I won't sell him because he's like my heart horse.
yes.
And so I'm like, okay, Cheyenne, you're like gonna be 7, so you're going to learn to ride. I just might have to ride him down a little bit before I get on, but you
Yes.
know, he
I
he's
know.
he's like a big dog, so I
Mhm.
think he'll be okay. Plus, he's getting older.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's so good. That's what my girls, we didn't start out exactly with ponies, but and I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, you just need that older horse that'll let them pack them around," which I believe those are amazing too, but there is a height factor, so if they come off,
Exactly.
ponies are sure nice for that because,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen little
Mhm.
kids get, they're on this dog gentle big horse that shakes and the little kid
Right.
falls off and gets hurt, and so I'm just like, there is something about ponies being lower to the ground that
Yep.
just kinda ease your mind, and they're ornery, and they teach kids to be aggressive riders, and they've just learned to make them do it, which I think
Yep.
is a valuable lesson for them to grow up with as well. So,
Yeah.
but I think big old horses are amazing too. They definitely teach a lot.
Yeah. That's been like my biggest holdup because I'm like, I can't put you on this big horse. Like, if you fall off, it's just too far of a fall.
Yes, I
But now I'm like,
know.
she's big enough if she falls, like, it's
Yeah.
not as bad as like the little 4-year-old that falls off.
Yes, exactly. For sure.
So, kind of going along with that, but through all of these things, I feel like you really taught your girls or instilled this kind of work ethic in them, and they seem to have so much grit, so much determination, and they are really hard workers. So, can you tell us some ways that you've uh, helped your girls grow those traits and how we can help our girls grow those traits?
I think the biggest thing is just responsibility, like letting them know, like, hey, the chickens, they're not going to get fed and have their eggs gathered if you don't do it. Like that is your job, and that that is your responsibility. Like mom and dad are not going to do it unless, you're staying the night at grandma's house or something like that. Like that is your responsibility. And if you do not take care of them, like she notices, that they eat their eggs or
Hmm.
they're like milling around right up by our door because they're hungry and they're thirsty and stuff like that. As well as like we get privileges taken away when we don't take care of our animals. So each of my girls have like Sheridan, she goes and feeds horses and goats in the evenings. I usually do the morning feed, and then Odessa takes care of the chickens, and their rooms, like I'm totally like that is their space, and I want them to have, they're like they don't have to put away everything away just like I want it, but their bed needs to be made, their clothes need to be put away, like it needs to still be kind of cleaned up and picked up at the end of the day. And then we usually write in the mornings, we get up and I'll write them like, hey, get this done today and get like this done in your school today, and we'll work together. If they need help with school, I'm sitting down helping with them. But it's kind of like this is our first year of homeschooling where I'm like, man, this has been so good. We all feel like we're moving ahead. This is the first year where I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, am I failing my children? Are they learning anything? Are they gonna be able to make it through?
Yeah.
So I feel like we finally kind of caught a rhythm, and it's been really, really good. But besides also like, yeah, this is the list of things because I'm usually working and doing a lot of stuff. They're working and doing a lot of stuff. And then in the evenings, we all come together and get to, have that close family time. But I feel like it helps that they kind of they know what they're supposed to get done and they work through it. And if they don't get it done, then well, shoot, like you're not going to get to watch your show tonight because you're going to be still working on all that stuff. I'm sorry, but like that's how it is. I don't. So
Mhm.
that's about where we're at. Or we're not going, hey, you're not going to get to go to rodeo practice tonight because you didn't get
Yeah.
your schoolwork done. So that's just kind of that's the way that we do it. It's just like natural consequences of like, well, shoot. And I mean the same for me. If I don't get this gallery delivered on time,
Right.
like I didn't uphold my word to the clients that I had. So it's just that's how life is. That's how life should be, is that there's consequences for not not working hard and not getting your work done. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how we roll with a lot of things.
Yeah, I love that. And I think especially with animals, it's the perfect tool to um, reinforce the natural consequences, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes when it's like, well, what happens if I don't clean my room? Like, big deal,
Yeah.
right? But when you have the animals, it's like, well, you didn't feed them, so they're hungry, or you didn't water them,
Yes.
they could die. There's
Mhm.
some major consequences. And so I think every kid really needs like animal chores to really like
Oh, yeah.
instill that,
Mhm.
you
For
know.
sure. Yeah, definitely. I have, actually, it's my husband's cousin. She has 5 boys, and they live out in Eastern Colorado, and her youngest is, a little bit younger than my youngest, and then her oldest is 18, and they've homeschooled the whole way through, and they ranch, and I've loved getting to watch her and the way that she mothers her boys, because we'll show up to a rodeo week one weekend, and the little one is sitting in the stands, and I'm like, Mac, why aren't you getting to rodeo this weekend? And he's like, because I forgot to water the horses 2 days in a row. And
Oh.
like he's sitting out at the rodeo, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, like Lindy held strong on that one, because like they
Yeah.
rodeo, like that is like their thing that they do. So like for the younger one to have to sit in the stands and watch all of his brothers compete all weekend because he didn't do his chores, didn't take
Yeah.
care of what he was supposed to do. I was like, "That's good. That's good."
That's good.
Yeah.
I think it
Yes.
also requires some strength as the mom
Oh my
because
gosh.
Yes.
Yeah,
you sometimes it's hard to be so hardcore,
it
like,
is.
and it's like, oh man, like I want them to be able to like
Oh, man.
experience that, or I don't want them to miss out on that, but it's like
Mhm.
sometimes it has to be hard for you too,
Oh,
right?
it
Mhm.
sucks. Yeah, there's been times where, like, my husband is like, "All right, so this is what's happening," and he didn't talk to me about it, and I'm like, "No, we got this thing going on this weekend, and you're, like, ruining my weekend plans," and he's like, "You have to hold strong," and I'm like, "No, but I don't want to." Uh,
Yeah.
But it is better to do it on the front end of their
yes.
lives than the back end.
Oh my
Yeah, for
gosh,
sure.
it's so true. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Well, family is clearly important to you. And one thing I do admire about you and Cody is how you operate your family as a whole. Um, what are some things that help create your strong foundation or strong families in general that you utilize in your own?
Hmm. Uh, this is where I go back to, we're not people that like sit down on Sunday and we're like, okay, let's talk about our week and let's like lay it all out so we have good communication and you know, we're all on the same page. That does not happen in our house whatsoever. I think the best part between Cody and I is that we're very self-sufficient. I don't know how else to explain it besides like I know at one point I really was a little more codependent on him, and that our marriage, like, there was strife when I was like that, like, I we need to go to this together, and I have to, like, it was almost like, in my mind, it was like, if I show up to this without him, things are not gonna look good, like, or people are gonna assume things or whatever like that, and then it came to down to, like, God showing me, like, you know what? The only reason that there's so much strife here is because you're putting so much emphasis on that. If you wanna go to that event and your husband is out of town, like, go to it anyway. So, many, many times there's been probably I think people at our church are like, "Is she still are they still married?" Because my husband's gone, like, he is traveling or he's hunting. And yes,
Right.
he loves Jesus, but we only get to hunt so many months in Colorado, and if the snow is
Yeah.
good on a Sunday morning, he's gonna go hunt.
Yeah.
So, I think that laying that aside and just being like, as long as me and him are good and we're, like, getting to have the talks that we have about our faith and the way that we want to raise our girls and what we're doing there, we're on the same page with that. He might not know that I planned for us to have a date night Thursday night, and I'm like looking forward to it because he forgot that I told him about it. And when I remind him about it, and he's like, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna get mad at you. This is not gonna be the end of the world for our marriage. That just happened. So, and I feel like it used to bug me that that it wasn't like our marriage wasn't like that, like, we weren't all on the same page, but I know Kenzie, like, your husband works, like, shift job too, like, there's so many
Yeah.
times, like,
Mm.
if you were to wait for him to go to everything with you, you'd be sitting at home all the time, so it's just like,
Yep.
you just go without him, you just do your thing, and if people are gonna talk, they're gonna talk, but
Yeah.
I think that that's important for us as wives to men that are working hard and they've got like he's got his thing. Like I'm so glad that he
Yeah.
has his thing because there was a time in our life where he retired from bull riding, it wasn't hunting season and he didn't have his thing. And
Yeah.
my husband always has a thing and that is what he is 100% about. So when it wasn't like that, it was like, whoa, what's going on? Like it
Yeah.
just was weird in our marriage. So I don't know what our foundations are besides like we just we communicate. We have good communication most of the time. Like I've realized in 18 years of marriage that he can't read my mind and I can't read his, especially when we're working cattle. But I think just having grace for each other and being like, okay, you do your thing and I'm do our thing and we're good and I love you and we'll get to do some things together, but like the girls and I, like we go and we do a lot of things together just because he's having fun. He's getting to chase his dreams and we're getting to do ours too. And sometimes it works out. We get to all do it together as a family and other times we're good.
And
Oh,
that's the beauty about homeschool that I love so much too, is that, you're with your girls all the time and it's not like they're missing out on that family aspect of,
Yeah.
being away at school all day and then coming home for a couple hours and going to sleep.
Mhm.
So it's not like your kids are getting to see that healthy balance between you two all the time and how it works. And, every marriage is different. And what works for some people doesn't work for other people. And
Yeah.
that's just how it is.
Yeah, definitely. And that was something early on when we had kids. I when I was a kid, I would never ever want to raise my kids as homeschoolers because they were always the weird, very awkwardly social kids, and then they'd dump them into public high school, and they'd be, like, 3 grades behind everybody because they learned nothing growing up. But when it came down to when Cody was still riding, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, they're never gonna get to see their dad because he's home during the week, and he's gone on the weekends, and if they're at school during the week, they're never gonna get to see him if we go to a few
Yeah.
events on the weekend." So it was just like that lifestyle choice. And I mean, there's many, many factors of why we homeschool, but that was a big part of it is that we get to go work cattle on a Wednesday afternoon all together as a family instead of, just me and Cody or something like that. It works out really well with the way
Hmm.
that our lifestyle goes.
so I love that you brought up kind of going back to like the dynamic between you and your husband. I think it can be a somewhat of a tendency for wives to almost like want to steer their husband in certain directions, like, well, I think we should do this and I think that we should do it this way. And, if a husband like has like a goal or a hobby or an interest or desire, sometimes at least I know a lot of couples where it's like, no, you have to do this. Like, you don't get to do that because you got to do what I want to do. But I
Hmm.
just love that it seems like you guys have so much mutual respect for each other that you're like, yeah, go do your own thing because you can see what he gains from it, right? Like what
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
benefits from it. And I think that's just so important, you know. Like
Yeah.
my husband, he has been training for an ultra marathon. And he's done that for the last couple of summers. And he'll even get to the point where sometimes he's like, "Are you sure? Like, can I really go do this?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "Please go for runs." And I've always our entire marriage, if he ever wanted to go hunting, because I used to go with him on all of his hunts before we had kids, and now we have kids, so I don't get to hunt as much. But it's like, can I really just like leave you here with the kids? I'm like, yes, like it's your thing. Like go hunt. Like it's so important to you. You need it. So
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think that's how God created us too, because we were always hunter gatherers. Like that's what our ancestors were. And for those men to go out and have like that solitary time and wild places brings back like a man that's fulfilled, that then when he comes back to the family unit, it's so much, it's just, it's fits. It's the way that God created
Yep.
us to
Mhm.
live and to really thrive, I feel like. And I feel like that that's where society has gone off the deep end, because a lot of times that's not what's happening. That's not what they get to do. So there's days where we used to calve in January, and that was calving, like we were calving season, and that's like prime mountain lion hunting season, where I'm like pulling frozen calves off of the ground and taking them in the house and warming them. And probably cursing my husband because he's off running around chasing cats in the mountains. But we actually got smart this year and pushed our calving season back. So we're calving right now, and hunting season's coming to an end.
Yeah.
And we're, I mean, we're raising, we have rodeo cattle that are, they're South Texas Mexican cattle. Like they don't thrive well in Colorado
Yeah.
winters when they're born here. So
Right.
after 10 years of like suffering, we finally got smart. And so our marriage has been so much better this year because I
Yeah.
haven't had to calve on my own. So just
But
things like that.
yeah, even still though, it's like you can kind of look back like, well, maybe that wasn't the smartest, but it sure helped build some grit inside of me,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh. Yeah.
having
Yeah,
to do those things
definitely.
without
Mhm.
having to like lean on your husband, it really
Yes.
builds
Mhm.
independence for you,
Well,
you
and
know.
I feel like him, I think your husband believing that you can do it, that he can trust you. There was times that I failed many, many times, like made the wrong decision with a calf, put it out too early or whatever, and it cost us thousands of dollars because they were worth so much and everything. But when it comes down to it, like I'm still the one that he would have doing the job
Mhm.
over somebody else or over him staying home. Like he still chooses to let me do it.
Yeah.
But I think your husband's having that confidence in you allows you to like, okay, I don't get we like the girls in our house, we don't get treated like princesses. Like we are
Mhm.
asked to go and do the same chores and the same jobs that, sons and like men would be asked to do, because that's what he's got. He's got a house full
Yep.
of girls. So
Yep. All right. So we're going to kind of shift and talk about your photography business a little bit. So it seems like over the years, like I remember when you kind of like first started getting into it, and
yeah.
now it just seems like it has taken off for you, and you just have grown so much as a photographer. Um, so what made you want to get into that and sparked your passion for photography?
Um, I mean, it all comes down to like when my girls were little and they were, running around on the ranch and petting the horses and playing with their goats and all of that. Like I think it was a birthday present. My husband's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I really want like a nicer camera." Like, of course, I had like my iPhone or whatever, but I was like, "I want a nice camera. I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I want a nice camera." So he just, went off to Best Buy and got me the nicest camera that he thought, and it was what started everything for me. It was a cheap little Nikon, not probably not cheap. I still wouldn't call it a cheap Nikon because for us back then that was like an expensive camera. And I started just playing with that and learning. And I mean, I watched tons of YouTube, tons of just how to edit, how to do all of that. I got to know our community around here. We have absolutely amazing photographers. Like, there's so much that I've got to glean from the girls around here where we live. One of my best friends is Danya Barber, and if you've seen any of
Mhm.
Desperados photos, she's her main photographer, and she's literally just 30 minutes away, and it's one of my best friends. And then my friend Carrie Prince up in Cherokee Park Ranch, she's an amazing Western lifestyle photographer. So I just basically forced my friendship on them and was like, "Please just be my friend and teach me all the things." And they were so kind and so giving, and it just developed this friendship where we just have the absolute best time together, and we all just glean off of each other. And I've loved every aspect of the community. There's definitely those photographers that have more of the competitive mindset, but it's just always been just amazing collaboration between the the women that I've got to know. And I've got to go to a couple different workshops and clinics. Anywhere from out in California to Lauren Maeve's photography workshop that she does. I mean, we're out on a beach in Santa Barbara with Andalusian horses and girls in flowing
Oh,
dresses
wow.
that we don't get to do that here in Colorado. It was like I was obsessed. I was like, I am in heaven. Like this is the most amazing thing. And then I've gone to a workshop in Idaho with Ben Christensen, so completely different kind of Western
Mhm.
lifestyle photography, and loved learning from him and Chris Dickinson. And so that's been so fun. And just really, every time that I get to photograph a girl and her horse, like I walk away from those times and I'm like, I love this. I can't believe I get paid to do this. Like, this is so fun. And I just absolutely love it. So I've learned that those are the jobs that I can't get enough of, that I don't even feel like I'm working. And I love taking photos of families. And I do a few weddings a year, very, very few weddings, not very many. I would not call myself a wedding photographer at all. And I don't want that to be my entire business. But I've fallen in love with a lot of the couples that I get to take photos of. And then I've started doing a lot more with ag related, like direct beef customers, and getting to do a lot of their marketing photos and just kind of telling their story has been so fun. So that's kind of a new thing that I started this year. But yeah, the girls and horses, that is my favorite thing. And I love working in the video of all of it. And it's been a fun, wild ride that I never thought that I could get paid for to do. So um, I I love it. It's my passion, and I love everything about it. I've had so much fun learning it.
Well, your work is absolutely beautiful and you have such an eye. And I think your background and growing up in like Western lifestyle and agriculture has really attributed to your eye of how to capture specific subjects, specifically horses. Because there's a certain way to photograph a horse, and there's a really not favorable way to photograph a horse. And I think you've shared that on Instagram before. But what inspires you to capture your subjects? I know your daughter's was one, but just like the detail you put into like your couples photography and stuff. I think you posted an engagement session the other day, and it was, oh my gosh, it was so breathtaking, but it was very authentic and natural. Like you could tell it wasn't forced, it wasn't posed. So tell us a little bit about like that process and your inspiration on how to capture Western couples and horses and all of the things.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I think the best part about horses is they're like the greatest accessory to any
Yes.
photo, whether you are comfortable around them or not. I mean, I've literally taken one of my couples that came from like a city that absolutely, I mean, she's got high heels on and a fancy dress. And I'm like, we're going to go out in the pasture. The horses are going to be in the background, and he's going to dip you and kiss you. And like, it's just I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's so amazing," and they love it, and they use it for, like, their wedding announcement and everything, and they have nothing to do with horses. I think that they're the best accessory, and whether it's, like, just stand with them behind you, or you want that heart horse photo session that you get to pose with your horse. So, they make it easy. I'm like, horses are the best things to take photos of, because even if they I've taken pictures of this he was probably 30 years old, this Appaloosa. And if you know anything about Appaloosas as they age, they're not
Yeah.
the most photogenic horses by any means. But if you angle them right and just let the girl like pet him and love on him and hug on him and everything like that, it still is like the most beautiful thing. I think that they're like, I'm like, God, whatever you did when you created this animal, like they're just the most beautiful, graceful thing. So
Mhm.
they make it easy. I feel like that's how horses are for me. Even the ones that are wild and crazy and they're just terrible to stand still, I'm like, just it's okay. Just let them move. Like movement in photos is great. Like I would rather make this a fun, enjoyable time as we're taking photos of you and your horse than, you're worried that he's not standing perfectly well and everything like that. Like a lot of time my assistant is Sheridan, and she's 11 years old, and she's got like the horse whinnying on my phone to try and get the horse's attention, or she's jumping around or something like that. So I don't have a paid assistant that comes with me for everything, but um, I really feel like that's the best part of it is just that you're having fun and like I'm gonna make you feel stupid in a lot of the poses that you're doing, but I'm like, just trust me on this. It's gonna look amazing. And don't worry about your horse moving around. Like we will capture it. And I can always edit out like the piece of grass that's hanging out of his mouth. That's not a big deal. Like, let's just go with it. And so I shoot like 90% of the photo sessions that you see right out my front door. So I literally am eating dinner with my family and like, oh, the session's, my client's here, let's walk out. And I get to work with amazing people and then go right back inside to my family. So it's like the most ideal job
Yeah.
that I could ever have for our lifestyle and what we do. And a lot of times, like I shot a couple senior sessions as we were going to rodeos this year. So we were in like South Colorado in like the Cortez area. So if you've ever seen, they have it's like the mesas and all of that kind of stuff. So we got to take senior sessions down there, and so I it just works so well for what I do and where I go. So I've enjoyed it.
Lots of flexibility. That sounds
Yes,
awesome.
yes, yep, it works great.
And I feel like your girls are at just like that perfect age where they can actually come and watch and
Hmm.
be helpful and
Yes,
hold
yeah,
a
they
horse if they
are.
need
Oh
to.
my gosh. Yeah, they're great. Both of them come with me multiple times to help with all that kind of stuff, and, they're grabbing my phone and shooting behind the scenes stuff, and they love it too, so they're Sheridan, she has a YouTube, account that I let her set up because she loves to take videos, of her runs and videos that she takes of her horses and compile them and put it together and put music to it and everything like that. And I know it's in a way it's social media for her, but I'm like, I'm setting the example with what I'm doing. So
Right.
Right.
that's why she wants to do it, is because she's seen me do the exact same thing and she's
Mhm.
really good at it too. So I love letting her do that. And Odessa is super like Talia, she would have an absolute ball with you getting to like go sit with you and see you draw. Oh my goodness, because that is her heart's thing. She loves drawing horses and dragons. Like dragons is like her main thing right now. And so she'll video herself like, in the fast time of the drawings getting completed and
Oh,
um
it's so cute.
do all of that. So yeah, but I me and my husband are like, it's a hard no on a lot of the social media for them,
Yeah.
but for them to be able to be creative and put that
Yeah.
stuff out of there, I'm glad that they can do that.
That's what I was about to say is you're fostering that creativity, but you're also showing them that you can have a successful career from home while raising a family non-traditional, well, it used to be traditional, but non-traditionally
Yeah.
anymore and still have a good home life and a career all at the same
Mhm.
time. So I love that. And you like kids are so like they've never not known technology and so they're
Mhm.
so much more advanced than we ever thought about being.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, you could also set them up where they have a career at 16, 17, 18 years old and they're already kind of set up for when they even just get
Mhm.
started in life. So I
Yes.
don't I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think as long as they understand, like, not everything on social media is true. And,
Yeah.
like, I swear, I'm just like, I'm so glad they're still at the age where it takes them 5 minutes to get dressed and get out the door, and we're not
Yeah.
having to deal with all that just yet. But
Yeah.
um, they they love doing that, and I mean, I've taught them to I have a lot of pictures that I've taken of Odessa with my big camera, and she's walking around at the rodeos and taking photos because I'm like, yeah, go for it. Go get those good behind the scenes. She's
Yeah.
got such a great eye for it and everything. So I think it's a fun little aspect of all of it.
Well, and you're also teaching them at an early age to be creators instead of just being consumers. And
Yes.
I think
Hmm.
to um, get into teach them that kind of like mindset, right? It's like, well, I can create this. I can, if I want this, I can make it or I can do
Hmm.
this, instead of just being like, well, guess I'll have to wait for someone to do that for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that for sure. they've got it figured out so much easier than I ever had it when came to doing all of this.
All right. Well, I think we're going to move on to our rapid fire questions. But was there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience before we do that?
I just appreciate you guys having me on. This is so special to me and getting to see your faces and chat with you girls.
Yeah.
It's been such a good time. And Kenzie, we're gonna get out to Oklahoma this year. We just need
Yes.
to do it.
Yeah, I missed you last
I
time.
know, I'm so sorry.
Well, we appreciate you hopping on. Like Talia said, we're going to start with some rapid fire questions. And these are just like some quick, fun, lighthearted things to kind of get to know you better.
All right. So the first question is, what are you reading right now?
I am reading, I'm gonna butcher the name. I believe it is um oh gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I know that it's like the presence of God or like cultivating the presence of God, but it's basically this small little short book that I just got in the mail that I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about it." And it's this I think he was a monk and he just practiced having like the presence of God with him like 24/7, and he wrote these letters to his friend about what God taught him and how he talked to God. And so that's the book that I'm like diving into right now. And it's short and it's little, but that is the one that I can remember the name of right now. There's another one that I'm reading that's more of like a, growth, self growth book, but I don't remember the name of it. I'm really sorry. I'm terrible at that. I knew that that would probably be a rapid fire question too, and I meant to go look at those. So I apologize.
It's all good.
Okay, so question 2, sagebrush or blue stem?
Ooh, sagebrush.
All of you Western
Yeah.
girls, y'all always
Uh,
choose that.
If you have sagebrush, I mean, really, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we
how
don't.
can you
do.
not love it?
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite part of being a homesteader slash rancher?
uh, I think just the land and the animals and how those go together so well, and just letting them be how God created them to be, like
Mm.
grazing and just getting to spend time with them out in their natural habitat is one of my favorite things.
Okay, what is one thing that you have on your bucket list?
Mm. My girls and I made a bucket list a couple years ago, and so we're still working through crossing all those things off. But we want to go to Europe. We want to just like go to Europe and visit a bunch of
Oh,
different countries and just have the best time of it. And this is the part where, back to the conversation about my husband doing his thing and us doing our thing. Like, I literally don't know if I can get him to go with us unless there's like hunting involved, so
Right?
we'll see on that part. But like me and the girls are not opposed to just being like, okay, so you're gonna stay home and feed the horses and we're gonna go to Europe. Because he went to Africa for 2 weeks last year and we stayed home. So like,
There
aw.
you go. You're even.
yes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So I actually went to Germany and Austria when I was in junior high school with my orchestra. And so
Oh.
I like wanted to go back so bad. So I'm like, my husband's name is Cody too. I'm like, Cody, we are gonna go to Europe. Even if it's when our kids are grown up, like I'm gonna take you to
Yes.
Germany so you can see what it's like. And he's like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm like, I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. It's
Yes.
basically just like the Rocky Mountains, but like bigger,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
No, I agree. I want to go so bad. There's so many places that we want to go over there. So that's on our list for sure.
What's your favorite steak cut and how do you like it cooked?
I like a New York, and I like medium rare.
It's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is your favorite wildflower?
Uh, Probably. I'm trying to think of what we had in our pasture just last year. I want to say it's like a lupine. It's like a
Mhm.
bluish purple one. And
Yep.
I
Yeah,
don't think my husband likes them in our pasture, but I think they're so pretty.
they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Log cabin or an old farmhouse?
That's a hard one because we have a log cabin. That is what our house is, and
Yeah.
It
I
is
love
so
it.
cute. It
I
Thank
is so
love
you.
your
cute.
house.
It
I
it
really love
reminds
it.
it reminds me of, like, Little House on the Prairie, but you have it decorated so cute. I love when you show pictures of your home. It's so
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you. I feel like it is struggling right now. I need your help, Kenzie. Come to my house and you can help decorate it.
I would love
Um,
to.
I do. I love our house, but there's things that with a log home that you don't realize happen. And like
Hmm.
just the upkeep of it is a lot. And then we get bugs in here like no other. Like I think
Oh,
they're
yeah.
able to like weave their ways through the log. So we have like wasps year round, like in our house
Hmm.
all the time. And I actually prefer those. Those are the best bugs that we have in the house. Like the worst are like yeah, it's terrible when the wasps are, like, welcomed. But the miller moths that come, I think
Uh,
they start, like, in May, we literally had, like, an infestation last year. It was
Wow.
unreal, and then we get flying ants that'll come down our chimney in, like,
mhm.
July. So, yeah, that has been, like it's, like, nonstop of, like, bugs getting into our house. So I am like, I love the log home. I also hate it. So,
Yeah.
like an old farmhouse with like all kinds of character and all the built-ins and a big porch. And I'm like, if we built again, we'd probably go more the route of like a farmhouse looking house because yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite recipe or meal to make?
We're pretty simple when it comes to what we eat around here. We're big, like it's usually meat of some sort, and I
Mhm.
love to do, like, a roast, and then we just do, like, tacos, like, corn tortillas, we fry them up and just do, like, roast beef in that, and those are our favorite, that's my girl's favorite too. Um, but a lot of times, like, we're just throwing steaks on the grill, and we just have steak, like, no side, nothing, just
Yep.
steak.
Yep.
We do the same thing.
And, like, everybody's happy, and I feel like, like, we're all getting really good protein, and
Yep.
that's all we need, right?
Yep, that's great. All right. Have you ever had an animal that had a big impact on your life or was particularly memorable?
Yes, my childhood horse, her name was Clementine, and she was this little bay mare that, I think the story of how we got her was, it was one of my mom's friends from high school. She was going through a divorce and needed a place to keep this horse. And then ended up needing to sell the horse. So we bought her and I think we got her when she was like 4 or 5 and she was just lightly green broke and my dad got her going better. And then an older girl kind of taught her to run barrels because I was pretty young at that age. And then I was able to start competing on her and we won everything. And she did every event and she was the toughest mare. Like I think back because now, we're taking the horses to get injected, they're getting their teeth done, they're going to a chiropractor, they're like the most high maintenance animals just to keep them happy. And I'm like, that poor horse never got anything.
Yeah.
And she did everything, and I mean, I competed on her, I rode her all the way through I was tying goats off of her in college, and she was the most solid horse ever. I'm like, "Gosh, I wish I could just clone her and have her for my girls because she's just absolutely the most amazing horse," and, yeah, so she had a huge impact on me, like, if I think of anything with a heart horse, like, that horse was just top notch and huge impact on my life and my childhood and growing up. So,
Okay, last question. Share one random fact about you.
oh gosh. Um, I literally, this is something that people are like, that is so strange. I don't like going to get a massage. Like, literally, I would rather go, I don't know, I'd rather do anything. I don't care to do like get a massage. Like, I'm like, I don't want to waste my money. I don't care to lay there. I got other things to do. And that just doesn't sound fun to me. And my husband loves them. Like he's bought me a gift certificate gift certificate before. I'm like, "You go use it." Like, I literally am not gonna go use it. So, that's my thing. I don't like to get a massage.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, that is all of our questions. But like we've said, thank you so much for being on today. And I think we've had a great conversation. So hopefully our audience can learn a lot about you and get some
Yes.
inspiration for their own lives. So remind us, what is your Instagram handle?
It's at In the Wild and Wonder, and my website is the same name, www.inthewildandwonder.com. And I'm mostly active on Instagram. I don't do like TikTok or anything else like that. So you can just find me on there. That's where I'm most active. But yes, thank you guys so much. This was so fun and getting to see your faces and just chat was great.
Thank you for being on. I love the conversation.
You are welcome. Me too.
So we'll make sure to link all of her places where you can find Candace on in our show notes. So make sure you head over there. And we just look forward to following you and seeing what you guys are up to all the time.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on today.